as Cloud9 and Immortals till the soil of the battle arena as we get back into it.
Yeah, the Kindred ban is a double jungler ban again. Last game, we saw Cloud9 first pick the Rek'Sai with Nidalee and Kindred off the board, but Reignover was still very effective on the Olaf. Although I wouldn't be surprised to see a first pick Rek'Sai depending on the rest of these bans. Ryze ban is a given. Lucian and Nazir bans are very, very strong champions to deny from Cloud9.
And Akali.
You...
Who do we have? Maokai was last one for Immortals as we went around in game 1. Still could be pretty big for the initiation.
Yeah.
He'll have his Echo. Reignover will probably get his Rek'Sai here if he wishes to choose it and just keep things pretty even, not showing Cloud9 too much. Where is it?
Swain.
Swain Payne gets taken out. It is going to be the Echo.
Yeah, and here's the interesting thing. If they decide to go for the Echo eventually,
That's true, they didn't lock it in.
Impact has always really loved playing Maokai. He likes being on a tank that he can initiate on because he feels like he can control the game, and he likes to lead the game in that sense. He was even playing it before the buffs were last split. However, a damage Echo actually has great split pushing options against a tank Maokai because he can consistently proc the damage, get such a big shield from his parallel convergence, and actually win that duel in the mid to late game, which does make Maokai a much more dangerous pick against Echo, considering Huni's going to be going damage rather than tank.
Right. Also, I think it was Seraph yesterday who went the Fervor Echo as well. Tried to take that into the Maokai matchup.
Yeah, we did see that. He did Fervor Tank Echo.
Fervor Tank Echo.
Although Huni
likes to just
goes Thunderlords.
Yep. Trying to get Zeus to help him out. Karma and Rek'Sai locked in. The ladies of the league will start off Cloud9's team here. See what they decide to do with that. Loving the Karma, though.
Yeah.
A lot of play in the summer split so far.
Yeah, the team-wide move speed the Karma can grant, as well as the really early laning power, is becoming a higher priority. It was sneaking up in priority even before the Dragon changes, but I can see it maintaining that, especially if we're seeing more standard lanes. But a poke champion going straight up against a heal champion, Agent's going to be pretty happy with that Soraka choice, I think.
Reignover picking Wild Turtle the Ezreal, something we've seen a lot more of as pretty much Caitlyn, Sivir, Ez are kind of filtering in to be the AD carries after that Lucian ban.
Yeah, Cloud9's going big, though. They do the Maokai, they pick the Sivir, they want to just run at Immortals, get straight onto the Soraka, because currently Immortals doesn't have any hastes of their own to try and run away with. So if Cloud9 catches them in the open, maybe they'd have the move speed advantage.
They also have next to zero crowd control. It's very conditional right now to stop any of Cloud9 from getting inside that team.
Yeah, pretty
just
much.
Rushing the back line.
Pretty much just going to be the Iceborne Gauntlet that Wild Turtle will build on Ezreal as of now, or parallel convergence from the Echo. So will they build in crowd control from the mid lane position? They almost have to.
Seen a few with Sandra's as well. Could lock down a good AoE area. But what do they want?
They go more for the poke composition. Varus has been a huge pick over in Korea, and it does give them some initiation. They can still land the Varus ultimate clean onto someone and basically kill him with poke afterwards.
Much more conditional arrow.
Pretty hard to land too, yeah.
Arrow ultimate. You do have that initiation, but Varus is all pretty tricky to hit, especially on a team that can spell shield, tend to twist it, advance out, or duck under your attacks. Smoothie, repping the love for remade Taric.
Throw Karma mid lane.
Yeah.
There was a really nasty Taric Rek'Sai combo that KT pulled out in week 1 of the LCK in Korea, where Taric would just roam extremely early and give the stun to the Rek'Sai as he goes in. But it's a Karma support, Fizz mid. Just wanted to mention that cool synergy.
Or Maokai mid Fizz.
You never know.
Dun dun dun. So Jensen goes for the Assassin this game in. Known back of the day for his set. He knows how to get in and out and get his hands dirty, so we'll see what he can provide on this Fizz. And the team's ready to follow him up as well with that composition.
Yeah, Immortals picked a lot of compositions last split that were fairly low in initiation and got away with it most of the time.
Yeah,
but this is Cloud9 picking a tremendously potent initiation team composition with the speed from Karma and Sivir, as well as just all other champions having their own ways to initiate that will only be augmented from their duo lane. It's going to make it very difficult for Immortals to pick their fights properly. So I do like this draft from now for Cloud9. Very straightforward in the way they want to play it.
Immortals is just saying, a few Cloud Drakes and we'll be all right. They'll never catch us. It's going to be tough, though. We see him falling behind on the side of Immortals, and it could hurt quite bad. Lack of CC, more conditionally on Parallel Convergence, and Chain of Corruption from Varus can make it very difficult to lock down that Sivir ultimate from Cloud9. After that, Immortals win in Game 1. Let's see how things change for the rest of the series. Tweet hashtag IMT win or hashtag C9 win, and let us know your predictions as always. I promise they will go up on the screen. And if you are participating, you will see how you are affecting the vote. Looks like Cloud9 is going to want to affect this early game a little bit more. As we get into this one, we are going to have a quick pause before we start the matchup.
Yeah, I'm wondering again if Pobelt is going to be able to hang against Jensen right here, because that's a matchup that can be incredibly swingy, talking about the Fizz against the Varus specifically. Jungle pressure will obviously factor into it, but like an Olaf trying to gank a Fizz is a really sad sight. He throws an axe, even if it's going to land, Fizz just tops up on his pole and flies away. Yep. So if Jensen can get the upper hand on that lane, it will also cripple Immortals' chance at initiation, because if Varus falls behind and constantly has to fear getting one shot, he's not ever really going to be in position to even land his ultimate to get the initiations to let Immortals pick their fights. So really important matchup in the mid lane this match.
One thing we really haven't seen change is that focus that they give to Huni, allowing him that first champion all the time, allowing him to go for that Echo again. Definitely controls it enough from the top lane consistently that they can keep going back to him. And I think it actually helps them feel more comfortable in these type various picks in the middle if things like that happen.
Yep, a lot of players are typing R in the chat, so many of them are ready. It's just I think the rest need to give the go-ahead, or maybe the player who's actually having the problem isn't typing R, and Cloud9 is trolling us, but I'm not entirely sure on how that would work.
Pretty Cloud9.
Sounds like what's something Cloud9 would do. They're one of the most talkative teams in the pregame lobby before the game, always trying to communicate with as many people as they can before the match.
Huni's actually pretty talkative as well.
Yeah.
He types it out.
In fact, Meteos was trying to tell me that Sneaky is the most potent shot caller of all time. He's going to be the first one to master shot calling as well as being a master of the AD carry position. I told him I would mention it on broadcast, so I'm fulfilling that promise right now.
There's one I'll always wonder is when Skara said
don't
that
believe him.
Cutie Pie was one of the smartest players he's ever played with.
So that is something that Skara absolutely believes, and in some ways it was true, because back when Cutie Pie played, like, he played more games than pretty much anyone else, and he played every position. So as far as like back then, when not many people knew that much about the game, Cutie Pie knew like almost every matchup at the time. There were some things that I don't think I'm a Cutie Pie was smart with. Like, I had to fight with him for an hour to stop running attack damage yellows and instead run armor, because I told him he would actually win 1v1s. Eventually he conceded, so it was a push and pull with I'm a Cutie Pie.
There you go. Getting back out of the rift. Everything is solved, resolved, and ready to go. And it is going to be even goal, 25 seconds in, but Immortals have one game. Now, let's get back into this. It's going to be a tough one here, I feel, for Immortals if they don't come out early. Cloud9 looking to really go aggressive on this matchup, and it's what I like to see this season. We've had a few long games, but we've also had a few games where players just keep at each other's necks. 5-minute flasheroonie.
Oh boy, that's not the greatest start for Meteos, and considering he was able to secure first blood last game by using his flash. But, see, that's that trade, right? Reignover uses Ghost, burns Flash from Meteos. Base cooldown for Reignover, because of the mastery he has, is 153 seconds, whereas Meteos' Flash is 155 seconds. So it's essentially a 2-minute window now where Reignover will have a movement summoner spell and Meteos will not. So a worthwhile trade for Immortals.
Seeing the starts. Longsword Pots coming in. No biscuits there for Pobelter. He's looking to keep his health up. Knows that Jensen's going to be going in and out. I've seen a lot more of these mid laners just want to stay back, stay safe, and clear. He actually notably, we saw at MSI playing a lot of that, even on his Rise or Aurelion Soul. Just keep the lane pushed up, safe. Allow the junglers to really do a lot of work here. And we're going to start off camps on separate sides.
Yeah, and Cloud9's actually going to be able to get both Krugs over to what looks like they'll be giving the experience to Sneaky. So they're clearly going to give the big one too.
Smooth.
This is important. No, they gave it to Sneaky. So Sneaky will have level 2 very early on in the lane. Gets it right there.
Wild Turtle as well has basically the same thing. They're going to keep themselves safe just on 6 CS, which means they both took the bottom side. Smoothie going in. Fuki excited to find him, but doesn't have too much damage or a dive to deliver anything over to the side of Smoothie. It looks like we're going to get the same on both sides. Oh! Mirrored play. So close. That undertow was nice.
Yeah, that was part skill, part luck from Rainover. Having that monster Q from Smoothie. That could have taken the entire camp. This is also a little bit interesting. I didn't think... So Immortals doesn't want to lane swap normally, I don't think. This is just a theory. I haven't necessarily gotten the word from their coach or anything. But they need Huni to be ahead, and they also want him to be a split-pushing force against Impact's Maokai. So especially in the new lane-swapping world, where you can't share jungle experience, almost all of it will go to the jungler. So the only experience the top laner is going to get is when he makes it to the lane. Huni now all the way down at bottom lane, but he's still just got 2 CS from the early laning phase in the top, and now he's sharing down in the bottom. Wonder if they're going to be giving him the solo turret gold, because that's almost required, in my opinion, to keep Huni in the game, and then Impact will have to do the same thing on the top side. If they don't, it'll show a very stark prioritization towards Sneaky's farm instead of Impact's.
See what their movement is. Rainover using that pressure to his advantage on that side, as Meteos already has, and it actually doesn't look like they're leaving just yet on either top or bottom. We do see Smoothie start to walk away. It looks like they are going to go ahead and give that top side to Impact.
Full share.
Yeah.
So
shared in the bot.
Yeah, full share for Immortals on all the gold, and then Impact gets solo experience, so that'll actually put Impact about 200 gold ahead of Huni in the early game. But Huni's going to stick around and farm the wave. He should shove it up because they should expect a swap back. This is basically the same lane swapping we would have seen pre-mid-season. So I'll mention how quickly Rainover is farming the jungle. He got 2 blue buffs once again because Minos decided not to take it early on Rek'Sai, and he's able to stay on the map very long.
It's like he's almost okay with it to avoid Rainover in the early part of the game. Make sure he can do what he needs to in any of the side lanes. Huni, getting every last CS that he can try to squeak out in that bottom lane.
It looked like he just missed the cannon minion there. Got the experience for it, which will be crucial, but that close to 50 gold will not be there.
Adrian just toying with Impact, making sure he doesn't CS evenly. He's actually denying quite a few.
And this is a difference between the two teams. Immortals is actually going to freeze a wave for Huni to pick up experience, whereas Cloud9 is shoving. So freezing feels a little antiquated for some teams. They want to just keep the map pressure up, and especially for Immortals, who usually just try and push. But now they're going to set up a freeze for Huni, so this is their way of getting him an advantage over Impact. Impact will have nowhere to farm while Huni keeps this frozen, but he will have his teleport up, and Cloud9 could look to make a play somewhere, like a 4-man dive bottom. Very interesting move there by Immortals.
Turtle's going to get safety from Adrian here, so that may be a little difficult, but they're also, as they're holding it off, kind of now allowing Cloud9 to work these waves, get up with their composition and siege any of these turrets. It's all too early, really, for much of that to happen, but the way that Immortals positions their waves kind of saves them from dives, their turrets going down, and this time they're stopping a lot more vision from coming into the jungle. Meteos close to that sight stone, so we'll see how fast he actually starts to get himself back in. That's one way Cloud9 really was able to hold the early game, is all the warding that went towards what was the dragon side of Immortals jungle.
Yeah, and as of now, I'm not a fan of the way Cloud9 is playing this. They sent Impact back up in the top lane to maybe leech, but he's in such a dangerous spot. They'd have to go for a teleport play to break this down, but they actually catch Wild Turtle.
That's going to hit on the tether. Smoothie flashes forward. Both teleports come in. Meteos still wants to go for Turtle, and it looks like they may be able to finish it off as Impact comes in as well. The teleports were a little hesitated, but both top laners knew they wanted to complete and come in for the fight.
Yeah, so I think Impact could have been down there from the very beginning, and then you could teleport up to get the wave experience, since Huni would have to teleport down when Cloud9 does an aggressive play bottom, because that's how you break a freeze. You force a fight on the other side of the map, and you force a teleport to come through. They still get the end result. I think that's because Wild Turtle poked his head a little bit too far forward, and now Rainover's ghosting to try and make more happen.
Rainover basically solos Smoothie, who goes to ward the Dark Tri-Brush. This is going to cost Sneaky his life as well, and just like that, 0-1-0 becomes 2-1.
Yep, a little bit of an overstay there by Cloud9. They had sent all 5 people bottom for that initial play, allowing Pobelter to extend his CS lead on Jensen, who's now back in the lane. It's about a 25 deficit and a big wave about to crash into his turret, but really, that's just Rainover knowing when he can pick up the kills.
Very interesting as well. Cloud9 kind of like snap judgment maybe. They're farming a call in the bot lane. They still have damage, easy for me to say, with the 2 long swords that Sneaky picked up. But
they get in here without wards.
Backfired real quick. Now looking for something in the top lane. I like the hold on Impact. He stayed a little bit behind Meteos for the twisted advance, ensuring that Wild Turtle could not use the Arcane Shift and a Summoner Spell to get out. Now to the mid lane. And it's almost like Immortals just doesn't feel like Cloud9 is roaming, but they very much are.
Yeah, 2 big positioning mistakes right there for Immortals. Pobelter and Wild Turtle both just lining up for straightforward ganks from Cloud9. Props to the roam of Smoothie and Sneaky right there, because Huni was shoving up the wave and they were kind of giving away some creeps for that. But I mean, Wild Turtle, he has 1 pink ward deep in his jungle, but no coverage in the brush behind him. So Meteos and Impact just walk up. Agent wasn't in range to heal either. And then Smoothie had passed through the jungle, through where their pink ward was to get there, so he avoided the wards from Pobelter. Pobelter did technically have wards in both sides of the river, so he felt safe. There's just 1 small gap in the vision that allowed him to get caught out there.
Seems like they're the mistakes of very small, I can just get this last minion, or Soraka's just behind me, she'll be able to help me, and they're really not paying respect to Cloud9's power right now.
They're like slight gambles. Those are the types of risks you don't want to take, right? They're low reward, medium risk. Whereas the way SKT often plays is like everything is low risk, and then it's a low to medium reward, and they just stack those up throughout the game. Not saying that's like the optimal way to play League of Legends, but if you're going to take a risk, the reward needs to be comparable in a theoretical sense. And getting the last few minions in lane for the fear of death is not a good equation.
Not worth. No matter what. 77 to 54, so there is a lead for Pobelter there, but giving up that kill means Jensen is going to be sitting quite nice. Sneaky clears a huge wave top lane, which basically would be evened out once we see Wild Turtle get back to lane and farm for himself. So the kills are back and forth. Nobody's really gained too much ground yet with those turrets going down together.
Yeah.
Tears stacking right now. Immortals just kind of hanging out.
Yeah, trying to compare this game to the last one a little bit.
Yeah.
As well. Pobelter would have had the pressure advantage in mid lane, but he's given up that kill, so Jensen can slide right back in there. And Wild Turtle on Ezreal already going to have to take a little bit of time to power up, since he's at the tier and sheen portion of his build. Sneaky's gone with the cull as well, so he'll be taking the time. They'll have plenty of it. It's just the 2 deaths are going to slow it down even more for Turtle. Jensen, it's pretty slippery.
Mooney says, what turrets? I'll go back. Chrono Break on to chum the waters so they don't get too much damage from that, if any. And the Chain of Corruptions hold Meteos in place. This all allows them to take mid turret, but do they give up Dragon for this? For all those ultimates to say mid for us? Maybe they can still pressure for Dragon. Cloud9 doesn't actually have much room after that. Yeah,
Huni and Pobelter both had to burn theirs, whereas it was just Jensen who popped his. Loved watching the duel between Huni and Jensen behind the turret, though, where Huni used his ultimate to dodge the fish and also attempt to kill onto Jensen, and then Jensen dodged it with the Playful Trickster. So they're on top of each other, but Pobelter still has flash.
Sounds like they're on the hunt. Here comes Sneaky. The speed up is there, but it's going to wear off as players meet. And one last hit. Smoothie's going to pick it up with an auto attack as the team, they're kind of reaching on that one. Not sure if it was going to come in.
Yeah, and a bad death for Pobelter. Uses both summoner spells, still falls, and it just cost the ultimate from Sneaky. So really, Cloud9 got a few sneaky ganks off, and now that was just a brute force right there, where Pobelter wasn't respecting the initiation potential of the Sivir Karma. Maybe he thought they were sneaking Rift Herald, so he threw the ultimate down that way.
Possibly.
But
we haven't seen really much pressure on in either game.
Yeah, and if anyone's going to put a priority on it, you would think it would be Immortals, because typically it's best on split pushers. It lasts for 20 minutes, and the damage won't actually stack up if you're near teammates. So it's specifically for soloists who are trying to get the advantages, and they last for a very, very long time.
Trying to counter these new beasts. The Infernal Drake goes down in favor of Immortals. They will walk away with that one quite happily in this early game. Buff up their poke a little bit, but not too much just yet. 18.8 across the board, 2 to 4 in kills, and Immortals again start to get a bit of a turret lead here. It's just that Cloud9 can keep up with that. It really hurt them last game, only getting that one turret so far into the early game. Or so late into the early game, I should say.
This time Jansen already in side lanes. Fizz has a little bit more freedom down there. It's been kind of hard for him to farm against Pobelter, so they just put Sneaky down in the mid lane. Easy for Sivir to just push out the wave incredibly quickly. And yeah, I do have to commend Immortals for their overall wave control in these games and their turret control. This time, though, they're also able to pick up the first Drake, so despite some poor positioning in lanes to leave themselves open to ganks, they've been playing the rest of the map quite well.
Huni getting a little love in the bot lane here. They're going to see how much pressure they can put on one of the final outer lane turrets. I should say side lane. And it looks like they'll be able to get this one quite easily. A few hits on, one more wave. Decide to stay or not. Looks like they actually decide to leave. Pressure is going from Pobelter towards the top, so Immortals, they're trying to flex the same thing here on the other side of the map. TP is up for Jensen.
Yeah, but once again, you can see just a huge number of Immortals people around an objective.
They're there so much earlier.
Then when you look where Cloud9 is, they're just kind of scattered around. Now, after Immortals is shown, they decide to group and get a push in, and they've cut off Pobelter, so they should be able to trade this objective. But let's see how Immortals tries to stop them.
Ooh.
That does not help at all.
Just in front of the wave. But it looks like enough from Pobelter being there in time stops them. So turret stopped in the top, turret stopped in mid. Both teams kind of running on empty on those plays. We'll see what else they can set up next time. Gold continues to stay even with the farming. Sightstone finally finished for Meteos here. And it looks like, again, sight won't, or vision, I should say, won't be that much of a priority once again on the side of Immortals just yet.
Yeah, so their vision right now...
It is pretty good still.
Yeah.
With what they've been putting out in...
They're kind of using human wards a little bit because they're so heavily invaded into the jungle of Cloud9 that they're kind of, since they're making Cloud9 react to them, they're hoping that they can keep vision on everyone. But definitely some holes open up. I mean, if you look at the Dragon area, it's completely black for Immortals. Next Dragon is Cloud Drake, so as far as the roaming game goes, that's actually very potent in the mid game. Late game, it becomes a little bit less so.
The ward life is a little bit stronger this time. Doesn't seem like Reignover has the same sonar he did last game. Cloud9's able to keep their security system up a little bit longer. And even for Jensen right now, he has a ton of wards on that bot lane. 5 that are protecting him, 2 for the early indication here. So he's just hanging out right now, easily farming that. Yeah,
and that's quite important because he's really critical in the way they initiate. Sneaky will be able to do a lot of damage, but as far as the Rek'Sai and the Maokai, they're just kind of there for lockdown.
Oh, that's what he was looking for.
He wants the stun.
Oh, he cues out of it, but still, Huni's trying to get that Time Winder right into place. Jensen in a bad spot. There's the ultimate still from Huni. It's going to be the play for Trickster over the Chrono Break. The final hit comes in. It actually draws down Meteos and Reignover as the junglers go toe-to-toe there. I said he was doing that easy, Jensen.
Yeah.
Actually not having too easy of a time.
Said it before, but watching those duels are actually really fun.
Yep.
Between Jensen and Huni. Huni got the big jump on Jensen because he caught him in a wave clear pattern. So Jensen had to fight back from behind. Wasn't quite able to do it. And a well-earned kill there for Huni.
Got him close, though. See TP to the top lane. Impact a little deeper on his own turret than he wants to be, and Immortals are continuing to go. Very low mana bars here for Immortals, really relying on auto attacks to get themselves through this fight, and that may hurt just a little too much. There's 2 kills going over to Cloud9, and they're going to pick up Wild Turtle in the end. Meteos is going to bite down on Rek'Sai, and Reignover, the Ragnarok wears off, so the crowd control is going to be there if Cloud9 can put it down, and they may find Pobelter as well. His flash and barrier are up. He's forced to use one of them. But Immortals overstay their welcome a little too much.
Yeah, the triple kill comes in from Meteos on the collapse, and also the teleport comes in from Jensen, which allows them to all arrive as Immortals gets overzealous on the top lane turret dive. You know, Rainover and Huni are making their fair share of plays, but making their fair share of mistakes as well. Immortals not starting this split the way they started last split, which was completely dominant.
Yeah.
Definitely a little bit of sloppiness mixed in there, and Cloud9's going to look to take this series to 3 if they can keep capitalizing on mistakes.
These plays would kind of fizzle out into maybe they lose a few, but they'll take this turret and then the next one. Now it's none of that, and they're seen running away from most of these.
And I think the very start of this fight was encouraging as they were able to have the Soraka there to stop any damage impact Meteos could do. But Sneaky and Smoothie just get there so quickly. That's something that's so hard to estimate about a Sivir Karma team, is the move speed they can create to make it to places on the map. And Jensen's teleport comes in, also able to dodge the Pobelter arrow in the process. Pobelter has to flash over the wall for safety.
C9 are able to fend off the engage there, but not able to get too much off that other than kills the S3 to Meteos. It'll make him quite big for the front line, and for a poke team, that's great for him with no real crowd control that's going to come in as he tunnels into his target. You can see Huni, the first bit of Time Winder, hardly even hurting Meteos right now. Doing himself pretty well this game. Level 12 for Jensen. He's the only one in the game right now as he's had a few decent fights the last time. Chain of Corruption is going to miss as Jensen does the playful and trickster right over the ult. Cloud9 fighting off a little more than they wanted there as Rainover's able to flank from the side. He's going to be able to finalize this kill as well. No matter really what happens, I'm a liar, that teleport's going to stop him. And they back right out. He actually knows how far is too far. Yeah. Even with that Ragnarok rolling.
So an angry Olaf. We got to see how hard it could be for them to kill Pobelter. It was a very clean dive they did from the start, but then Adrian just kept healing and healing and healing. So they dove for a pretty long time and then allowed Rainover to close in on Smoothie, who was then out of movement speed. So they end up trading it 1-for-1.
Been the kind of turn of it. 1-for-1, 2-for-1 here. They trade back almost what looks like the same mistake in the same area as these teams go back and forth. Items being finished up now. We have the Youmu's and that Hex Drinker for Pobelter. And looks like Immortals is really saying, we just want to get this turret down and go back. Impact, you're being a nuisance. Please back off. And he stayed at turrets a little too long. They're going to back off from him.
He's continuing to hold this.
Okay, they're not.
Turret, but I mean, Sivir and Karma are really far away right now. If Impact's going to want to make this a 3v3 now, 4v3.
Wild Turtle they can do. Was focused on the turret, so Impact saved themselves some damage. Also with Vengeful Maelstrom mitigation, they are off. The Sivir ultimate actually was not used to get themselves back into that. They decided to stay safe. And one turret going down isn't that much.
Yeah. The top lane was not to be battlefield there. Turrets have gone down though. They were able to finish it off, so turret lead is extended for Immortals. Interesting to talk about the Cloud Drake in this game as well. So Cloud Drake would actually be weaker on teams like Cloud9 because they're already going so fast. Cloud Drake gives 15 to 30 to 45 out of combat movement speed. But an important rule to remember about movement speed is it has diminishing returns as you hit certain breakpoints. So once you're up to actually 490 movement speed, any additional movement speed hits 50% diminishing returns. So it's actually only half as effective. And I was paying attention to Sneaky's move speed when he ulted and got move speed from Smoothie, and he was over 600. So when they're actually initiating, the Cloud Dragon is going to be about half as effective because they're hitting such diminishing returns.
Quite interesting. Still not going to suck, but interesting.
Yeah. It's more important they actually deny it from Immortals because it's all about the delta in your move speed, which is the difference between your move speed and the opponent's movement speed. And Immortals will want to be faster to have a better chance of running away from the incredibly fast Cloud9.
Also missed Jensen's Dark Seal stacking up. Hopefully he can get a few more onto that. He's died a few times recently, or at least once, I should say. And it looks like Love is going to be down for that Dragon. Over to Pobelter, the knockups, the crowd control. Something Immortals is lacking, but they will still try to run to the fight. Sneaky is the target. This is what we talked about Rainover also being able to do, but they focus down onto Huni now. Ragnarok's off, and they can just go for the back line every single time. Adrian's not even a thought during the fight.
Yeah, I mean, didn't need much move speed at the start of that fight. Impact just flashed. And they are picking on Pobelter so far in this game. You can see Rainover trying his best to run down Sneaky. I mean, they just really mobbed his Sivir as best as they could, but He's got move speed. He's actually not had a problem catching them. He would need more damage or tankiness because he's still dying at the end of that one. Jensen was able to clean up the end of the fight. Sneaky did enough damage at the start of it. And we're going to watch this one more time with the chains onto Pobelter, but Sneaky gets caught in the Varus ultimate, and then Hootie and Rainover just go for him. But once all that is done, you can see, like, Adrian is still pretty low, and Jensen's able to come right in. Full combo Wild Turtle through an exhaust, and the rest of Cloud9 can just finish off Rainover. So because of the nice initiation, very solid fight for Cloud9.
That's something I noticed as well last game. Even with the Karma, Adrian was running Exhaust. Bunny and Smoothie have both run Ignite. Cloud9 really liking the aggressive pressure in those lanes, and it's coming through as well in the fights to help for some of the kills.
Yeah.
Zanyas and Amarilla Nabakan here for Jensen. He is going to be doing some big damage to basically everybody on the team, from Pobelter down to Adrian. He can zero out if he wants to.
Yeah, no Aegis has been able to be completed yet.
That's a good point. We went for Righteous Glory, though, on Rainover. Still big for him.
Yeah, but this time he's gone for the Sightstone. So they really need to be able to see where Cloud9 is, considering they can close the distance so well with Sivir and Karma. But that will hurt his combat effectiveness a little bit more so.
You can see the pieces of that Aegis on Adrian slowly building up. Meteos right into Pobelter. They're trying to lock down the crowd control that Immortals has. Meteos is going to make it out alive with that passive heal. And it looks like they're going to be charging in here. Rainover will be the first one to go down. I should say second after Wild Turtle. He went down very fast in the fight. And once again, Immortals getting pushed off.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Cloud9 envisioned when they drafted this team composition. Just endless initiation that Immortals could not escape from, even with the Soraka. That's one of the big strengths of Soraka, is just like being able to disengage, and, you know, if the initiation doesn't stick, you heal back up to full and you continue your siege. But Cloud9 is just locking them down and picking up kills. 2 more for them now as they move for Dragon.
And you don't have gigantic AoE damage as well, unless Huni can Time Winder everyone, or an Undertow hits everyone. You got shields from Smoothie that already buff you up in speed. More
oh my god.
Speed as
Huni stole
well,
it. Huni stole it. Meteos wasn't there because he was low from the last fight, and Huni comboed it with his Time Winder. And I said the Cloud Dragon will be more important from Immortals, so they are able to secure it. Anyway, Impact comes in a little bit late to this fight, but it was a double TP play by Jensen and Impact, which is why the initiation collapsed so well, and Meteos still was able to get out alive, so it all worked out at the end of the day. Easily able to kill Wild Turtle and Rainover, but it doesn't even secure them the Dragon, because Huni was able to steal it. That hurts. What is the next Drake? The next Drake coming up will be Ocean, which is very important for both teams.
Yeah.
I would say more so for Cloud9, because they're the ones that would be vulnerable to poke and need to initiate quickly, whereas Immortals is almost always going to be starting fights at very high health.
That's true. I was going to say, why not Immortals? Oh yeah, because they're going to die in a second if they get engaged. 44.6 to 39.5. 15 kills here. Definitely a lot bloodier than the games we had previously in the week, or just yesterday, I should say. Very slow, some late earlier first bloods, but these teams not hesitating to go at it whenever they need to. That Iceborne Gauntlet is finally finished. Could help to keep Cloud9 off Immortals' heels as they disengage now, but that's not going to be here. That's a very necessary ultimate for Rainover to have, and Cloud9 gain pretty good amount of ground here. The waves aren't necessarily in their favor, but they're getting all the vision they need.
Yeah, still saves Ghost. Didn't need it to run away, but as you said, important ultimate. Fairly short cooldown, though.
It is.
74-second cooldown at this point in the game, so only another 50 seconds until he can have it up again. No major objectives being contested right now, except potentially the Baron. Based on the positioning of the game right now, though, it's unlikely, so I think he'll be fine. I think he'll get it back up for the next fight.
Aegis is completed. Very, very helpful. Eye of the Watcher as well for both of the supports, looking for a little bit of that cooldown. Nothing else jumping out in the inventory. It's just teams trying to get themselves into position. Top wave is pushing. That's going to have to be respected soon from Cloud9. Teleport is not up, though. There will be as Impact walks up, so they're actually timing that very nicely. Keep themselves on top of all of the lane control. And definitely panning out better than last game at by now, Immortals had kind of taken Cloud9 by surprise, started taking them out one by one, finding them in a few places around the map, and then able to just drop turrets after that. Cloud9 had no way of stopping it.
Both games still quite close, though, except the Dragon control was in Cloud9's favor last game.
Yeah.
It's just weren't able to close it down at the end. And here, Cloud9 would even have more of a chance of winning, but getting that one Drake stolen definitely hurts them early. There will also be no Mountain Drake again in this game. You can only get 3 of the types of dragons to spawn in one game, and with Ocean being up next.
I was just going to say it.
No super rushed Barons or super rushed turrets for this one.
That's like we're plagued with no mountains. What's going on, Jet? This might be a thing all season. Let's see. Be like, we don't want Riven Jet to cast me. There's no Mountain Drakes. That's not how it works.
Yeah, Mountain Drake, really, really powerful at the end of the game
Yes.
because of how much more quickly you can take turrets and major objectives.
Almost scary at times as well if you have
Yeah.
the lead already.
But the thing that I do want to keep hammering about these dragons is that, yes, there is like very, very slight favorable things for like one composition versus another, but what they do to me is they change the way a team should be approaching the way they play the game. Like, assuming you have assuming there's not like a huge movement speed difference in the team compositions like a Sivir and a Karma, if you get the Cloud Drake, it should influence your decisions of like, hey, we're in the top lane, I want to run bottom lane, I know we can get there before that team because we're 15 to 30 movement speed faster than them. Or you're more willing to look for fights because you know you're faster out of combat. And like, it just changes, it should be changing the way you think about things.
It's understanding kind of before you get in a game the style you can almost switch into per what dragon comes up.
Exactly.
How you can kind of alter that throughout the game and call the audible.
Yeah,
Right
Ocean
now,
Drake would be
Infernal
like,
to Ocean.
yeah, with the Ocean Drake coming up, that for a poke composition, it makes it even more important that they don't commit all the way to fights because they can sustain so well. Like, I think Ocean superpowers Soraka a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it helps her regen the health cost of her heals back a little bit more and just keeps the battery going more and more.
Definitely efficient for a champion as such. We'll see if she can benefit from it once they get it down. It's actually going to be up quite soon. The 1 minute mark means ultimates being held in summoners right now is very, very big. Trying to get a few of those out. Fortunately, Reignover fortunately for him, I should say, able to get Ragnarok back up as it was some time ago. So a big fight to be happening right here. Wards are set up. Teams are kind of jockeying for a bit of position, and Huni is off on the side, ready to teleport in, but he's definitely gaining a lot of ground, and Cloud9 have to move as well to act on something.
Very aggressive force, but they've swept and they have double pink wards
Yes.
down, so total blindness right now, and there's actually no blue trinkets off cooldown immediately, so they have to send the Ezreal all through to get vision, but now they have it, and Cloud9's relatively low. They go for the fight.
Huni teleporting in right there with home guards on. He went to back before it happened as the team was calling Baron, and Huni's in the back line by himself. They fly onto Adrian. His summoners are down, and so is he, as they continue to drop Immortal members flying through from that Baron attempt. Cloud9 is now riding high, and they're looking for more attacks. Huni's also looking for the same thing, and he's going to parallel convergence. He decides not to. He gets a great, what would have been shield and stun out, but the team can't follow up. Huni actually goes down now, and Cloud9 looks like they'll lose a few just on the caboose as they try to get themselves out. It's a 3 for 2 so far. Cloud9 takes the lead on that. The Baron pretty much gets the teleport and a few kills for himself.
Yeah, I think that's going to reset a little bit, and maybe you just have Cloud9 go down for the next Drake, so a very aggressive force by Cloud9, and you can see how effective the dive is for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, their backline of Sneaky and Smoothie is getting left out to dry a little bit because Huni and Reignover are also running train over them. But at the end of the day, it has been Cloud9 coming out slightly ahead of these fights. Watching this one more time, like you can see the hard initiation, but as the teleport comes in, it's actually just Huni who takes on like 2 or 3 people in the backside as Jensen and Impact are just wrecking people. But yeah, Huni just killed Smoothie and forces Sneaky away. So still a pretty scary moment for Cloud9 because they have like all this initiation, but also no great way of peeling the Echo and the Rek'Sai. So it's going to make Sneaky's life really troublesome. And then the poke is able to come in right at the end. Nice slow from Wild Turtle to make the arrow easier to land from Pobelter.
And that could be what it comes down to. slows in. Cobalt keeps hitting piercing arrows, and that's the way the hope goes as Cloud9 tries to siege each one. We haven't really seen them step up to a turret yet, probably because it would be so hard at this point, and kind of tempting that Baron is really what's going to get them into the lead here. Again, they start to hover that spot, have the wards to clear it out as well. And something they've been continuing to do throughout their games, having that little bit of pressure for each ward they place, as long as Rainover's not there to clear it out.
Yeah. Impact is just absolutely huge this game. Frozen Heart, Sunfire Cape, and an extra Giant Spell to go with this 5-1-10 score.
Big Sequoia.
Yeah. I'll say Meteos has really good scoreline as well, but I'd also say his itemization as far as in-fight tankiness isn't as efficient as it could be. Guardian Angel is more about the revive, and Ruby Sightstone is more about the vision control than it is the 500 health it grants. So,
What would you like to see?
yeah, I would. If he's looking for just tankiness, obviously he needs to keep the Sightstone. I would have kept the Sightstone unupgraded and then worked towards a Randwinds and a Spirit Visage because he needs just the dual tankiness of the more efficient items. But he's valuing the revive because he thinks Jensen and Impact can stick around to the back of the fights.
Rainover toying with danger. That's going to be Ragnarok for him. Jensen could chum the waters here in the back line, but Immortal says keep the line straight. We are not going to bend down. We're going to exit right out this door. Everybody actually sticks together very nicely on that disengage for Immortals, which means they are all ready to fight another day.
Yeah, really important disengage there for Immortals because the teleport from base was blocked from Impact as well as the Sivir ultimate. Now they can just try and sustain up a little bit, but so Impact doesn't even have Flash, but they still have the Karma. This is how they can be so fast. Meteos goes.
Double pop-up for Meteos. Tries to turn around. Eats Chain of Corruption himself. A big CC coming from Immortals. Huni back and forth. The pop-up as Meteos actually takes a different path to get back into the fight, and it's right where Huni goes. They're going to be able to take him down. Jensen now trying to come through the back line as they are tanking. C9 is tanking everything right now to get the rest of the members over, and they're able to push Immortals back right under their own turret. A double kill for Impact.
4 kills for 0, and even without the Sivir ultimate, Cloud9 is able to run them down, and so much of that is just how powerful Impact is right now, because there is nothing that Immortals have at the moment to cut through him. Really untouchable on this Maokai so far, and that gives them Baron 34 minutes into the game.
Opening this best of 3 wide. Right now, Cloud9 looking to take game 2 and very much in a good position to do so.
And Meteos can be fearless right now because of the Guardian Angel, so he doesn't care about the huge amount of damage he takes at the very start. But then, like, Jensen and Meteos go all in for Huni. Meanwhile, Impact is just sitting in the Immortals team, and he stops Rainover from going on to Sneaky, which had been a huge problem in previous fights. That allows Sneaky to actually flash forward for more damage at the end, and then Impact tanks the turret the entire time as well as getting the double kill.
Beast. That was gigantic. 7, 1, and 12 coming in here. Spring split kill participation for the team, 78%. Let's keep it going for him. 19 right now of those 22 kills he has been involved in. Impact is just having a heyday right here in game 2. Minute and 40 on Dragon gives Cloud9 much time to go down for these turrets, something they were lacking last game, but now have control to get even more as Jensen's in the bot lane for that second tier.
Yeah, and they're just going to keep rotating back and forth. They haven't yet cracked an inhibitor turret, and they have a pretty short-range team, so if they do want to get fully in on Immortals, it would have to be a pretty substantial dive, or they're going to have to control Elder Drake. So we'll see now. They have the Baron, and they're looking to push on this momentum with the Cannon Minion up, but it would have to be a rather risky fight if they go for it.
This is the part where it becomes tough. Not too many turret takers on the side of Cloud9 once they reach this, if there are still members of Immortals up. They kind of want to take the team and the turret at the same time.
Yeah, you did just see Cloud9 ping the Elder Dragon spawn. It's up in 1 minute, and they have the Baron Empowered Recall. A couple other minor changes from the season patch is the Baron lasts longer now, so they're actually going to have a sync up where they can have Baron and Elder Drake if they get them both at once, and that would be the time to push in. They're also hitting all the important item breakpoints. The Bloodthirster has been completed onto Sneaky, and there's always this arms race in games where you have an 80 carry and an Olaf to when the 80 carry can solo the Olaf, because there's nothing the 80 carry can do about taking that fight, but as soon as you can win it, you take all the advantage away, and I think with the Bloodthirster, it turns that as well. So I think Immortals need some type of miraculous outplay or big mistake from Cloud9 to prevent this from going to the third game if Cloud9 plays this right.
And they're trying to string Immortals real thin here. Knowing the teleport up on Jensen, they're going to send him top lane. He could get a turret for himself here with that Lich Bane completed. And they're going to send Huni there. So now that Elder Dragon pressure becomes a little bit stronger. Huni still has that teleport. But that's going to be a turret for Cloud9 as they work off the ball here, really just around Immortals to get what they want.
Yeah.
Back coming in and possibly a teleport play from Impact.
Exactly. That's what Cloud9 is having to back up for. So they obviously want to do the Elder Drake, but they're more so hoping that Adrian and the rest of the squishy targets on Immortals walk over a ward in hopes of contesting it. Then Jensen and Impact would double TP in and go for something. So Impact was actually waiting on the base for a good 10 to 15 seconds, realizes that Immortals isn't really even thinking about contesting, and now he's walking down.
Lasagnas denies the chrono break damage. He absolutely deletes Huni after he gets his ultimate off. They're going to be able to take down Jensen, but Jensen gives the Elder Drake to Cloud9, which is huge.
Yeah, Impact thought about teleporting in there, then realized Immortals had actually sent their whole team.
Whoa!
Oh,
all right.
That would have been a crazy
It has
steal.
much more health than it looks like. It's so
Yeah.
healthy. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That was close, though.
Elder Dragon has just as much health as Baron when it spawns.
Right.
But Wild Turtle has stolen so many objectives with 80 carry ultimates. But now you can see the effects of this buff. So it's not as powerful for Cloud9 because they only have one Elemental Dragon stack.
Right.
So the true damage burn isn't going to be as big as it would have been last game when Cloud9 had 4 Elemental Dragons at this stage in the game. But they still get the Ocean Drake increased by 50%, as well as the spell and auto attack burn, which will be for 90 true damage over 3 seconds. But it only lasts for 2 minutes, and they all recalled after that fight, so they have a very small window to take advantage of this.
What is your plan, Meteos? He says, I'm going out first. I will scout, set out the wards. Looks like Cloud9 wants to get themselves back into that jungle quite deep. Top lane, double ping. Not quite sure what they want to adjust to just yet. Cloud9's actually going to give them something to adjust to. They're all going to go towards the mid lane. Looks like we're going to get a pressure on that inhibitor turret since there's nothing outside this base that they want right now.
And Jensen picks up a blue buff, which is more important than it was before as well. And now gives him 15% increased ability power, but that Elder buff is ticking. You can see it's almost 3/4 gone. There's about 35 seconds left. Yeah. And with that wave being gone, since it didn't sync with Baron, they might not actually be able to fight while they have the duration of this buff. And it's on a 10-minute respawn.
It's going to be incredibly tough. The Iceborne keeping them out. You also see the Lord Dominic's Regard as well onto Turtle. Just kind of shut down Sneaky a little bit, but they have now the finished Muramanas. This poke is going to sting. C9 can't stay
This wave is their last chance, and they go. Nice.
Exactly. They cannot wait. They go on to Pole Belter as well. Impact and Meteos are stuck. Rainover tries to go to the back line, but he comes back to help the team, and they are going to be able to take down Pole Belter before Rainover gets there. The Immortals looks like they have to just completely back up now, and Rainover just on the outside of Fountain, just on the outside of safety, goes down, and 4 members of Immortal are waiting to come back up. Cloud9 owns their base, but do they have enough to continue to the Nexus?
They had about 10 seconds of the Elder Dragon buff left when they flashed for that initiation, and it was exactly what they needed to do. Now they look to get the ace.
That there couldn't be any waiting time. The minion wave is slowly coming in from the bot. They have a siege, so they should have enough time to take these down. And a stark difference from game number 1 versus Immortals. Cloud9 are able to find their mid-game ground and able to find their way now to the Nexus. Huni, however, playing big spoiler, trying to stop this from happening, but that's 9 and 5 seconds on Pole Belter and Wild Turtle. Adrian goes down, one last auto with a crit coming in from Sneaky, but they may have to wait this one out. Too many members of Immortals are coming up now. They can poke them away, and the game is saved.
Sneaky.
Slowly, Sneaky overstays his welcome. Impact now teleporting in. That's going to be Jensen teleporting in. Impact is holding on his own still, and it looks like they're going to have to hold off. Backing up.
Yeah, but they might try and turn, like one more fight and they can win. They already killed Adrian and Huni, so it is a 3v3.
Ragnarok down. Rainover's going to go down. That's the kill from Jensen. He came back from the beginning of the fight, and it's almost like Cloud9 can live here.
Oh man, if you pick Cloud9 in fantasy, you're real happy right now, whether it's first 2 games or best game, because they're scoring huge points, even in their loss in that game. But aside from that, the call to just go very decisive. Everyone goes in at once. And the parallel convergence stun was great from Huni, but they are fighting someone with the Elder Dragon buff, which is incredibly difficult. Pobelter gets blown up again. Adrian gets caught in the chaos, and Jensen does a great job assassinating all of the priority targets here. Oh, Huni barely able to stay alive, and the time that he delayed is basically why this game isn't quite over yet. Full items on Sneaky, and he is a beast, as well as maximum items for Jensen, although a little surprised he finished his Luden's Echo instead of finishing a Rabadon's Death Cap, but it's going to give him even more move speed to try and just stack onto this really fast team.
Gotta go fast. So they don't have the zillion in the mid lane for this one to speed somebody else up. 30-13. 43 kills in 42.5 minutes right now in this game. And now they're going to go for Baron, which is going to secure a few more kills on somebody's side. There's the ultimate. It's the Sivir and Karma Mantra Shield to make them in. There's no way Immortals can get away from this one without losing one. They have to turn to fight. Reignover is just turning to save everybody. And Turtle may be left out to dry. Pobelter firing off auto attacks as he moves backward, but it may not be enough. One last crit coming in from Sneaky seems to be the name of the game. And they are able to take down Immortals once again. Turtle inches from the base, Twisted advance in, and Impact roots him down and puts him in the ground. A quadra for Sneaky overall, and they're on the Nexus turrets.
Man, and this just more and more fights, and this keeps happening to Huni. He tried to teleport in that fight and immediately ulted back, so he wasn't a part of that fight anyways. 35 kills. Grant Cloud9 their first game victory. Doesn't count yet, though, because that sent us to game 3.
Best of 3 is for you and me, and we're going to game 3. Cloud9 take game 2.
Man, that was one crazy game. It's been a while since I've seen 49 kills in a match.
So, especially between two teams that usually do things quite concisely.